I was interviewing Fareed Zakaria a couple of days ago, and he said that India was beginning to seem to him more and more like Erdogan's Turkey than the country of his origin. As someone who has been, you've never given up your Indian citizenship, do you see India like that? Or, there was another very moving piece by Andy Mukherjee in Bloomberg where he said that he felt he'd lost hope in the India he knew. Do you feel that? Do you sometimes lose hope in the India you remember and that you know?
No, I don't lose hope in India. I think we've been through days when we have become less democratic. I mean, remember the emergency? But we've come back from that. I don't think we are in that situation right now, but I do think we have to worry about the steady erosion of institutions. And that is an early sign that things are going the wrong direction. This is a temptation for any structure where you have tremendous political power concentrated in one party. It was a problem when all the power was concentrated in the Congress. It is a problem now when a lot of power is concentrated in the BJP. What is important is the parties themselves realize some of the dangers inherent in this kind of concentration. And, along with the general polity of the country, work to try and make it that we don't move down the undemocratic path over time. That requires concentrated effort on everyone's part. I get accused of being a constant critic of the government. In fact, what I'm trying to do is offer constructive criticism. Here's what you must do. Here is what you mustn't do. I have in mind, there's a lot of sort of flack that Dr. Manmohan Singh sometimes gets. I remember, in 2012, I was on a panel with him. There were three others. This was while he was prime minister. There was Ishar Ahluwalia, there was T.N. Nainan, and there was Governor Subbarao. This was on the performance of the government. The four panelists, maybe with the exception of Dr. Subbarao, were really fierce in the steady drift we had seen. And Dr. Manmohan Singh, sitting on the panel in front of a large audience, I think it was Vigyan Bhavan, essentially said nothing, got up at the end and said, "You have given me a lot of food for thought. Let me, I'm not going to respond and try and defend. You are all reasonable people. Let me think about it and do what is necessary." That, to my mind, represents the best of Indian democracy. A prime minister who's lambasted by people who, I was an advisor to the prime minister. Ishar Ahluwalia was a friend of the prime minister, by people who cared about the direction of the country. A lot of us care about the direction of the country. We're trying to give advice. We're trying to suggest here's a better way. You may think we're wrong, but take it into account. Don't accuse us of being sort of constant critics and not interested in progress. We are interested in progress.
Does that hurt you, or have you developed a thicker hide? Because, and the reason that I'm asking is that several years ago, I asked you whether you would ever consider a role in public life or politics, and you said that your wife would not hear of it. Many years on, the number of comments on my live stream that want to know why you won't come back to India and be part of political life, be part of public life, it's been many years since that moment. And I do want to ask you whether you've had an opportunity to reconsider that, whether you would consider either a role in politics or in public life or in government.
No, look, I am certainly I care very much about India. Otherwise, I would, I don't do research on India, but I certainly care about what goes on there. And if I didn't care, I wouldn't spend time with you or others trying to push gently or sometimes harder in particular directions. I have no sort of vested interest in that process. But there are people who are capable of doing politics and playing politics and managing politics, and I certainly don't consider that my forte. I am certainly happy to advise and to push as far as I can. That I think different strokes for different folk, or you should be cognizant of what you're competent at. My realm is more the realm of ideas than, and on occasion administration.
But you just mentioned Manmohan Singh, who was not an electoral politician either, who was probably more a man of ideas than he was that quintessential electoral politician. So there are many ways, Raghu, to be in politics without being an electoral politician. So the more specific question is, maybe you're saying you'd be no good at contesting elections, but would you be open to a different role from being, this great professor? Would you consider coming back to India and being part of a government?
Look, I actually need to learn far more about India, and I want to do that. But I also think that the deficiency, and I mean, this is the deficiency is for a alternative vision right now to the dominant vision. And I think it's important to create that. There's no point sort of being part of the political establishment if you don't offer a serious alternative. And that's what I think a lot of us in India have to work on. What is the alternative to the dominant vision?
And are you willing to spend more time in India doing that? I don't know. And how do you define that role?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are trying to find a way to figure out what is going wrong. Why is our growth falling off? Why are people unhappy? What is the have we met the dreams of our founding fathers? I spent a lot of time reading the Constitution and how the Constitution was structured, what Ambedkar said, what Gandhi said. And I think it's important to go back to that and to understand, have we met those aspirations or have we fallen off? And if we have fallen off, how do we get back on track? India was a beacon of democracy for the rest of the world. It punched above its weight in international fora because it was thought of as leader of the developing world. How do we get back to some of that? Those are the things we need to think about. And as I said, my comparative advantage is in ideas, not in shaking hands and kissing babies.
But I was hoping politics has moved beyond that. But just to end, will we therefore, as you look for ways to create an alternative that has resonance and isn't just in an echo chamber of fellow liberals, will we expect to see you in more of you here?
I think we need to develop those ideas. Yes, obviously we need, and I think Indian academia has a responsibility. I think even, Indian politicians across the spectrum, including people from the BJP, have to be thinking about what, are we going in the right direction? And what are the alternatives to what we could be doing?
Well, I think there's a riddle there in your last answer, and I'm going to have to do a follow-up interview with you. But I think what I'm hearing, let me summarize this correctly, is that you're not looking at, you don't see yourself as a quintessential politician, but you're definitely going to be more engaged with the public issues of our time, maybe than you have been. Would that be fair to say?
I think I would say that India's going through a very critical phase at this time, economically, politically, every dimension. And this is a time that all Indians should step up and say, what is it that we really want from our country? What direction do we want to go? Are we going in the right direction? And that, I think, as an Indian, I feel it's a responsibility to step up and to start thinking about what we need to do.